Welcome, everyone, to our first Education Committee meeting with the Senate. We're in a different place, and I guess we may have a few people scattering over there to see why we're not there. And we may end up trying to make this our permanent room for a bit because I think they have some construction issues over there. And actually, I don't know about anybody else, but I think the acoustics are better over here as well. And it does help Senator Brennan and Senator Olson, who are dropping kids off early in the morning. So we're going to see if maybe we can stay here. But for now, here's where we are. So anyway, welcome back, everyone. We only have two bills. I should have probably put three on. I was just sitting here beating myself up over that. But it's good to be back and good to see some of the same sunshiny faces that we see all the time with education meetings. So anyway, I guess we'll start with roll call.
Lots of adjustments. No worries.
All right. For Senate Education Committee, February 11th, 2026, Senator Brennan.
Here.
Senator Olson.
Here.
Senator Rothfuss.
Here.
Senator Scott.
Here.
Chairwoman Schuler.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you so much. See, I really do think this is better for Senator Brennan. These guys that have young kids that they're dropping off for school. So we're talking about maybe staying here for a bit. So anyway. Our first bill today that we're going to take a look at is Senate File 14, Literacy Position for K-3 Reading Program. And I've asked members of the Wyoming Department of Education if they would want to come up and talk about this bill a little bit. Welcome. Please introduce yourselves.
Good morning, Madam Chair, committee members, Dickie Shaner and Nate Tajeski with the Department of Education. And Madam Chair, at your request, I'm happy to just run through the bill and then add a little color to it, if that's okay. All right.
Perfect.
So Madam Chair, Senate File 14 does two primary things. Section 1, it adds a full-time sort of middle management type program manager position to the Department of Ed, full-time, to manage an existing statute, 21-3-401, which is the Reading Assessment and Intervention Statute. We have never had a position for that statute, despite it being on the books for many years. And so it currently just is an add-on to an employee who has another plate of work. And so we're asking for a position to be dedicated fully to that statute. And then that is subsection A is the full-time employee. And then part B is $300 for this position to retain private contractual services, literacy experts, maybe some software, training materials, et cetera, to help again with the implementation of that reading assessment and intervention statute, because there are quite extensive responsibilities that exist in statute right now related to that early intervention literacy program. So
are you sure you didn't mean $300,000?
What's that?
Are you sure you didn't mean $300,000?
Excuse me. What did I say?
If we're going to get it for $300,
$300,000. $300,000 for contractors. And that's the extent of this bill, Madam Chair. And I really think don't need to add much more than that. I would point out that Senate File 59 is related to this topic in terms of the reading assessment and intervention bill. That is a bill designed to comprehensively update the statute that's already on the books. So what I would just add, Madam Chair, is that regardless of whether that Senate File 59 passes or not, we still have this statute on the books and really need someone dedicated to it full time. So with that, happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Yes, Senator Scott.
Madam Chairman, my question is, this is basically a budget request. Was this submitted through the normal budget process?
Mr. Shaner?
Madam Chair, Senator Scott, I don't recall what the discussions were on whether that was brought through our budget or just through Joint Education Committee. I think it was just Joint Education Committee.
Other questions? I have one. Just my understanding too, and I could be wrong, I have been before, is the major focus here is really to assist the school districts with implementing some of the, if we do pass some of these other bills, particularly the K-12 literacy bill, to be able to help them, to be able to comply and to be doing the things they need to do. So am I correct or?
Yeah, Madam Chair, that's correct. And even whatever happens with that bill, we have this pretty extensive statute on the books right now, and we just don't have the bandwidth to properly support districts. I mean, they've got to do extensive screening, interventions based on that screening, specific assessments. They have to train their K-3 staff. They have to submit reading improvement plans if they don't meet certain proficiency levels. So there's a ton of work already going on that the department just isn't able to provide proper support.
And just to follow up to that, is there any reason that you know of that we haven't filled this position in the past?
Madam Chair, good question. I would say that we have been able to sort of fill this gap in recent years with getting some federal literacy grants where the work was so overlapping that we were able to help move the needle. And we do still have those grants, but it's not a permanent fix to the issue.
Okay. Questions? Go ahead, Senator Olson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have a couple of questions. The first one is just kind of logistical. We're requiring your department to report back to our interim committee October 1, 2026. The bill doesn't go into effect until July 1, so that literally is only 3 months-ish time. Are you going to obligate and expend the funds within that amount of time, or is that report really going to do much good? Should we push it out for, I know October is our date that we use for reports, but is it really going to be helpful with only 3 months? You tell me.
Mr. Shannon?
Madam Chair, through you, Senator Olson, we're happy either way. We can just provide a report on where we're at on that date. But you're right, it is a quick turnaround. We could do it in a year later too, but we're happy to report on whatever you all deem necessary.
Yeah, we might have to play with that a little bit. Maybe something, we'll think about that. And can I ask another question,
Sure,
Madam
yeah,
Chairman?
go ahead.
On the subsection B, the 300,000, can you tell us how that breaks down between how much you're going to spend on literacy experts versus software? Like, I would like to see if you know.
Mr. Shannon,
Madam
go
Chair,
ahead.
through you, Senator Olson, that was a sort of just an estimate by our literacy supervisor position that we have on what we might use based on past uses of outside vendors. I can get sort of maybe a pro forma created for you on what we might do with that money, if that would be helpful.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And the reason why I'm asking is because I'm starting to wonder, if we make this, is this a reoccurring appropriation? Yeah, so it's a reoccurring appropriation. So at some point, you start to wonder, are we spending more money on a 900 series contractor versus having that expert inside as a full FTE? At what point, does it become more cost beneficial to just have the employee? And we won't know that for a while, obviously, but that's why I'm wondering how much of it will go to the experts.
Mr. Shannon?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Olson, it's a good question, and it could become less necessary as this develops. We sort of look at the most comparable thing that we have going right now with our state system of support unit. And we have an FTE in there who relies pretty heavily on some of these outside experts to help with data analysis and school improvement plans and things. So we kind of use that as the analog for this.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Rothfuss, did you have a question?
Madam Chairman, I was just going to address Senator Scott's earlier question a little bit about why this went the way it did when we were discussing the idea of having the K-12 literacy bill. There was a discussion about the fact that it would require an additional position. There was some discussion about whether we would just include that in the original bill, and then thought it would be more appropriate to just isolate that for separate discussion, as well as Mr. Shaner pointed out, it's still something that even if that other bill doesn't pass, is useful in statute. So there was no reason to tie them together. And also really, we understand that it's often good to separate the appropriations side of the shop from the policy side of the shop when it's clear that you can do that. So I think this is an appropriate approach so that we have the discussion directly about it. And honestly, putting it in the budget, particularly in this year, in a budget year, would diminish the amount of time we're going to spend on it, right? It would just be going to the budget. We wouldn't have this committee meeting, for example, to talk about it. So I think that when you're working on an important issue like this, it's nice to have a standalone piece of legislation to let the full body fully engage in it, as opposed to just the appropriations committee fully engaging in it and then taking it to conference committee where the rest of the body doesn't have a chance to engage.
Other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if there's no other questions from the committee, let's go ahead and open it up for the public to come up and give us some testimony. Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward? Come on up. Please introduce yourself.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Gay Wilson. I'm a retired elementary teacher and a former literacy intervention specialist, and I'm from Cheyenne. I'm here today in support of SF-14 literacy position for K-3 reading program because this bill does something simple but very essential. It gives our school districts the support they need to carry out their responsibilities of the reading assessment and interventions program. After retired, I went to work for the Wyoming Department of Education, and during that time, I worked with the CLSD grant, and I was partnered with 25 schools across the state. What I heard over and over again was gratitude. Gratitude that someone at the state level could answer their questions, return their calls quickly, and help them navigate the requirements that they were needing to meet with in good faith. That experience made something very clear to me. Districts want to do the right work, but they cannot always do it alone. Wyoming has never had a dedicated literacy department, sad to say, until just recently when they hired one full-time employee, but one employee does not constitute a department. For a state that wants to improve reading outcomes and raise student achievement, this lack of support is simply unfair to our school districts, especially our small and rural ones. We ask them to meet high expectations, but we have not provided the staffing or the expertise at the state level to guide them. The WDE also needs a department to help hold school districts accountable for providing the much needed requirements contained within the assessment and intervention bill, as this is not always being accomplished with fidelity. SF-14 changes all of this. This bill allows the Department of Education to hire one more full-time position focused on helping districts implement current literacy law, as well as help provide professional development and literacy resources on the WDE website. This bill also gives the department the flexibility to bring in contracted experts when districts need specialized support, especially in our small rural towns and schools who are not proficient on statewide testing. This is not adding bureaucracy, this is actually adding capacity. It ensures districts get timely, accurate, and consistent guidance instead of being left to figure out things on their own. If we want better literacy outcomes, if we want stronger implementation, and more importantly, if we want equity in all districts, then we must provide the support and structure to make that possible. SF-14 is practical, it's responsible, and it directly responds to what districts have been asking for, which is support. I respectfully urge you to support this bill. I stand for any questions.
Questions for Ms. Wilson?
Okay.
I guess the only one I have is, you bring up a good point about our rural schools. Sometimes we think we can do everything on Zoom. I'm hoping that the State Department maybe will allow that person to be able to get out and be boots on the ground in some of these rural. Can't say it today. But anyway, is that your wish or your hope?
It is, and I have to tell you, when I was up there, I made a loop around the western side of the state and visited, I think it was 14 of the school districts in 2 weeks. And especially those small rural schools, they loved having somebody come in and see what they were doing. I went to Burlington, which I have to say I didn't know was a sweet little town, on the very border up by Montana. And they loved showing off what they were doing with the grant. They loved having somebody come in and visit with the children and the teachers and just know that they had that support and that somebody was, interested in what they were doing. They were so proud to show off what they were doing with the grant. So those rural schools really need the support.
Awesome. Other
So I-
questions? Well, thank you for your work in the past and for your support of this bill, and appreciate it. Hopefully we can move this forward, get it across the finish line.
Me too.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Madam Chair and
Yeah.
committee members.
Anyone else in the room that would like to come in and testify on this bill? You're all kind of quiet today. I was the same way when I woke up this morning. Just felt a little quiet. I think we're all kind of tired. It's only the third day. So do we have anybody online?
Madam Chairman, no, you do not.
We do not. Okay, well, I said this bill was going to be easy, but you hate to say that because that sometimes is the kiss of death. Committee, what's your pleasure on this bill? Okay, it's been moved by Senator Brennan, second by Senator Olson. Discussion, anything you'd like to change or anything you'd like to add or delete? Any work? Yes, Senator Scott.
Madam Chairman, I've been trying to think out the appropriate strategy here. I'm supporting this. What I'm afraid is that what's going to happen, we pass it out, it has to go to appropriations. They will say, why didn't it come through the regular budget process? If the department really supported it, it would have come through the regular budget process. They'll just zero it out, and then we'll have trouble getting the floor leader to bring the bill up and say, really, it was a budget matter and should have been a budget amendment and should have been a budget request to start with. I just want to think a little bit, what is the appropriate strategy here? Should we put the bill out? Should we? I think the timing is such that second, third reading of the budget will probably pass before this bill comes to the floor, given just the mechanics of things. Do we want to, as a committee, sponsor a budget amendment, or will the bill prejudice us if we do that? It's having not had it come through the budget process. I think prejudice is what we're trying to do. So what's your thought, Madam Chairman, is what the appropriate strategy here is on this one?
Well, I don't know. There's probably wiser minds here than me, but I'm concerned as well. Every little appropriation that's in a bill is going to be, under the microscope. I definitely want to see this bill go through. I think, if we just maybe hit hard the fact that this is already available in statute, we just haven't, used this and filled the program. And I don't know, I could be wrong. What do the rest of you feel?
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I think we just have to defend it. K through 12 literacy was one of our interim topics, so it logically fits within what we were working on. We have other work on it as well. So I think we just have to defend it. If some of us want to run a budget amendment, we could always run a budget amendment that says, if SF 14 passes, then this amendment goes away. If SF 14 doesn't pass, then this amendment takes place. So there's ways to do that so that we can run a bill and an amendment at the same time. I agree with Senator Scott. It's a little unorthodox that it didn't go through its traditional budget process, but it also happens all the time too.
Good point.
So I'm comfortable moving it forward and just fighting for the appropriation on the floor if that's what we have to do.
Senator Brennan or Senator Rompus, any ideas?
I agree with Senator Olson.
Oh, I do too.
But I would like to make an amendment, Madam Chairman.
Okay, yeah, we're at.
On page 3, line 5, October 1, strike October 1 and put December 1, in both places there. Well, actually, we could probably do December 1, 2026. And then I think LSO likes to use October 1 as our reporting deadline. So keep the 2nd October
Okay.
so that in subsequent years it gets on the schedule.
Okay.
That's what I would do.
Any discussion? Got a second on that? I think that makes total sense. So all those in favor of that motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that has passed. Any other amendments? Okay. Well, in that case, I think we might be ready for roll call.
Madam Chairman, for Senate File 14, literacy position for K-3 reading program, do pass amended. Senator Brennan?
Aye.
Senator Olson?
Aye.
Senator Rothfuss?
Aye.
Senator Scott?
Aye.
Chairwoman Schuler?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Okay. Well, we'll give it the best shot and see what we can do up there. So we still have a few friends, don't we, up on the Senate floor?
For now.
We hope. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and move on to our second bill, Senate File 18, attendance of students in K-12 schools. WDE, do you want to talk about that, or do you want someone up here to go first? What's your thoughts? I know this was one of, I think, Superintendent Dagenfelder's priorities.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Dickie Shaner, speaking on behalf of Superintendent Dagenfelder. She does support this concept, and it is pretty short legislation. Part A adds a clause that just includes children attending school on a part-time basis to make it clear that all students have an opportunity to access public education. And then the other thing that I would note is the distinction here that someone who opts into the ESA program does not have this right. When you make that decision to go to the ESA program, if you want to take classes, you have to enter into contractual negotiations with the school district. So that would be the one distinction here. This would not be for the ESA families that.
Okay. Just my question that I had, you answered one of the questions, and I think that pretty well spells it out on page 3 with the ESA situation. And I think is that how this bill came about, basically?
Yeah, Madam Chair, from what I recall with some of the discussions in Joint Ed and just sidebar was that when the ESA passed, there was just a little more friction in terms of like homeschool and participating in whether it was activities or just classroom work at school districts. And so putting into statute more clarity related to both of those things.
And I know this bill doesn't talk about that, but or doesn't, actually take a look at this. It talks about the school days, obviously the minimum that we have to have. But do you think there's any issues with those schools that are on block systems? Would this bill have any impact on that at all?
Yeah. Madam Chair, I think that's a great question. And I think the school districts are going to have some ability to work through the logistics with any families opting for sort of this part-time instruction, because yes, I think it will be on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. All right. Other comments from the committee? Any questions? Okay. Another easy bill. Definitely. I guess I should have put 4 bills up today. Well, in that case, when there's no questions for the WDE, let's open it up again for the public testify. Anyone in the public? Anybody awake back there? All right. Oh, Senator Scott, no? He kind of looked like he was going to ask a question, but
I do want to ask the department a question,
okay.
and that's what's the status of the lawsuit on the alternate, the private system?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Thank
Mr.
you, Madam
Shaner.
Chair. Senator Scott, yesterday, the Supreme Court heard arguments on that case actually here at the Capitol in the historic Supreme Court.
What,
Okay.
Madam Chairman, what did the district court do on that?
Yeah, Madam Chair, through you, Senator Scott, the Laramie County District Court enjoined the ESA program. And so got kicked up to the Supremes.
Any other questions for WD? Okay. No one again in the public? I'll give you another chance. Going. Okay. Anyone online?
No, Madam Chairman.
Okay. Well, with that, what's your pleasure on this bill, committee? Okay, it's been moved by Senator, excuse me, I almost said Olson. Senator Rothfuss, seconded by Senator Brennan. Discussion. I think basically, Mr. Shaner hit the nail on the head with this. I think this was just an issue when the ESA bill came forward that there were districts that were either unsure or had some issues with whether or not students should be able to attend part-time. So I think this clarifies it. I think this makes perfect sense though. And I think it's smart that we brought it forward. Well, State Department brought it forward actually, I think. But I think we needed that clarification. So there's no other comments or discussion? All right. Oh, did you have something to say? No? Okay. I'm looking around and I guess we're good then. Let's go ahead and take roll on this bill.
Madam Chairman, for Senate File 18, attendance of students in K-12 schools. Senator Brennan,
Aye.
Senator Olson,
Aye.
Senator Rothfuss, Senator Scott, Chairwoman Schuler.
Hi.
That is 5 ayes.
Okay. This bill is passed, at least to get it upstairs. So appreciate it. I again apologize. I really wasn't thinking when I jumped on board, and I just thought I'll take the two lowest numbers. We'll start there and move on. And I definitely could have knocked out another couple of bills. So it was an easy peasy day for you. I guess we could have started at 9 if I'd have known, but that's on me. So.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we do need a little more time to work some bills and take a look at some things. So anyway, appreciate everybody showing up, and I promise we will have a slew of bills at the next meeting. So be ready. All right. With that, I think we will adjourn unless anyone has anything else. Okay. This meeting's adjourned.
Are we just